Daniel's Contemporaries. Hi, welcome back to our director's commentary on the book of Daniel as we just started last Sunday. Daniel chapter 1, doing a series on all there is about Daniel. Now, there is a lot about Daniel. Now, he's in the 6th century BC that his life takes place. And I thought it'd be important that as we have given the context on Sunday regarding the exile and the geopolitical mess that the region was in at the time between Pharaoh fighting Babylon and Israel being caught in the middle, that I wanted to give you a greater worldly snapshot of what was going on around the world in that time frame, so that it can help us to give us more context. Well, first, if you want to go really far east, this is about the same time that Confucius and Buddha exist, which I find is interesting because Daniel is not deep in the past. He is before Christ, but he is not as deep as Moses or as Abraham or even as Adam, our patriarch. And so I think it is interesting that something so recent in the East that people base their lives on, the teachings of Buddha and Confucius, when they are, historically speaking, very new to the scene of faith. We also know that about this time, we want to keep going around the world, that in 600 BC, this is when the Mayan civilization in Central America is flourishing. At the same time, this is the end of Egypt as we know it. When you think of all the movies and all the archaeological things that you see of Egypt, from the way that their pantheon of gods used to work, and pyramids and tombs and things like that, this is the 6th century BC. This is really the end of Egypt as you know it. Nebuchadnezzar completely destroys it, and it never regains its former status. Yes, of course, it maintained inhabited, but very quickly it was dominated by many other regions, from Babylon to Persia to the Greeks, then finally the Romans. And then it became very Hellenistic in its worldview once it became a Roman possession. And so the downfall of Egypt, as we know it, happened in that time frame. Also, the Phoenicians, known in the area of Lebanon, were first recorded. It may have happened before, but we don't have records. But the first recorded circumnavigation of Africa happened in that century as well, too. Because they would learn that when they would cross the Suez Canal area, there was no canal there, but swamps. They'd see that there's 2 great seas on either side, and they basically were able to find their way all the way back around to do that. And so it's pretty incredible that amount of exploration had happened in 600 BC. So it serves to understand that maybe the Phoenicians had made it a lot further that we are unaware of, but hopefully we will as we do archaeological digs. Greek art is also really growing. The Greek civilization in 6 BC is really not at its infancy, but it's really where it's on a steady march ahead until it culminates with Alexander the Great 300 years later. And so in this time period, their art is becoming very famous, and their Hellenistic worldview is being understood around the world, which has changed things immensely. You know that in fact that today many of the way that Western societies think is based on a Greco-Roman culture, and that all started back thousands of years ago. And so on top of that, in the 6th century BC is when the famous Acropolis has started construction. So there's a lot going on in the contemporary world with Daniel. And in that time frame with the Greek art rising is Aesop's fables. Now we can understand that those were basically made up proverbs of things like the grasshopper and the ant. That famous story was written in that time frame. Now those fables, but we have many spiritual truths taught to us through the prophet Daniel, where these are intentional words and visions that God has given him so that we could have to this day to bring us encouragement and to know that the Bible and its characters and its people stand firmly proven in the test of history. Well, thank you for tuning in, and God bless you. Have a great day.